Hey everybody, it's Zori from OneScales. In today's video, I'm going to cover Shopify speed optimization real tips, aka how to make your website faster. So many of you requested this topic. It's crazy how in demand it is. Some of you really think it's good for SEO. Some of you think it's good for conversions, user experience. While it's true for both, I really think that it's much better for user experience and conversions and for a faster loading speed than for SEO. We've tried to run over the years different experiments to improve Shopify stores and get better SEO, but it's really hard to identify if that actually helps or not. Google says it does, but I have not seen any data that show otherwise, but it doesn't hurt, obviously. So really important. This topic is real tips. What I want to show is things that we've done for stores, Shopify stores for our clients or other services that we provided that really have helped improve the score and the load time of the page. We have some best practices below, and we'll give some examples with the screen share that you can see right now with our website Written, which is one of our startups that we launched, which lets you post your information, your messages, your words on the blockchain basically forever, or as close as possible to forever as possible. But no matter what, it's just an example. This is a Shopify store, so it's a great example to show you some things in the back end. Right now, Written actually has a good score. We don't need to improve it more, but I wanted to show you on the real Shopify store and show you things. Now, the real reason we made this, aside from us making more and more content, is when I actually searched the topic, Shopify speed optimization, and I looked at providers, service providers, apps, all these things, I actually did not find one good source. There was nothing that was really standing out that gave real tips that are really helpful. That's why I wanted to make this video. There's a lot of articles out there and videos on YouTube that just show the most best practices, the most common things. It's very generic. It doesn't really help you a lot, and a lot of those things are not relevant for you guys, and they're very broad. So this is for real tips. So I want to hopefully give you guys things that you've never seen out there, and I believe this is what we have. So very simply, let's jump into it, okay? So first thing you need to do before you actually do any changes, any improvements, you actually need to test it. You need to use the testing tools that are available out there and figure out the issues, figure out their recommendations, because these testing tools have recommendations, figure out these things that stand out, and figure out things that are not good for your website for speed. So obviously we like to use two tools. One is Google PageSpeed Insights, which all you do is you put the URL right here and you get some recommendations, which we'll jump into in a second. And the second one is the browser's Inspect Tools and Network tab right here. If I click on an empty space, Inspect, I click on Network and I refresh the page, it'll actually show what was downloaded in order to build the page to make it look this way. The images, the scripts, the styles, the tracking codes, the all these things, social media icons, all these things, accessibility scripts, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So you need to identify, you need to actually see what is the poor performing part, what is taking too long, what is in the wrong order, what is just very heavy, all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you an example or two, and then we're going to cover all the best practices with really good detail that will actually help you guys. And a lot of these best practices are going to be covered in the tools that we have an example. Okay. So first thing I want to do is we're going to have for Written. I actually went here and I'm going to put my URLs. Now, in all of the testing tools, do not just put the homepage only and get the results and try to optimize. You need at minimum to get every single major template that you have. So what is a template? It's basically a page that functions differently from other pages. So homepage looks and functions differently, has different elements. Your collection pages, which you have a list of all your products, that looks and functions differently. There's filters, there's a lot of product images. Your product page looks and functions differently. You might have videos and sliders and all kinds of stuff. And then you should also do like your content pages, and if you have a blog post, blogs and blog pages, those are a minimal. Now, if you have other themes, like you have a lookbook or you have some other, sign up for something, you should also test those as well. At minimum, do homepage collection product, or the second minimum is homepage collection product, content page, blog post. But again, you should test all of those things because each one have its own scripts and optimizations that you need to do. Most of the things you'll do, they'll affect all pages, but some things are really specific to that page. For example, maybe you have a video on your product page that you don't have on your homepage, right? Or your content pages. Okay. So what you want to do for each of the pages, you want to put in the URLs of those. And you want to go and you'll be able to see in the page speed insights your mobile score 57 out of 100, and for desktop 89 out of 100. For me, it's sufficient. It's okay. There's no issue with that. I want to go down and I want to identify a few things. So first of all, I want to see if the time it takes to load is just not exaggerated. It's not taking 20 seconds to load my FCP, my first content point. So my first contentful paint is how quickly when I go to the website, when I hit enter, do I start seeing some information here? And you see out of all the boxes, if you have a lot of these that are white, your website is probably slow. So what you want to do is actually try to load it as quick as possible. There's a lot of coding to it, but in general, this is actually pretty good. It's actually way above average any website that I've seen, etc. So you like to look at these kind of things. And what I like to do is actually go here to diagnostics, and look at all the red ones and figure out which ones can I actually improve. So I'm going to look here, and a lot of these are actually going to be difficult. But basically, the simple rule of thumb is the less elements on the page, the faster it's loading, the less things you need to download, and the less things the browser needs to compile and figure out how they look and then make them display this way. So what I want to do is figure out what are the recommendations I can do easily. For example, I know that the LCP, the largest contentful paint, image was lazy loaded. So lazy load is a really good thing that you can do, which is any images that are below the fold, any images that you cannot see when you just load the page, that you actually have to scroll to. This is actually called below the fold. The fold means what can you see when the page loads without scrolling. So you should actually lazy load them, which means you should only load them. The browser should only get them only if you scroll. If you don't scroll, don't get them. Scroll only when you need, on demand. Anything that's above the fold, that's actually visible when the page loads, should not be lazy loaded. In particular, this image is actually lazy loaded. I should unlazy load. I should actually go to my code and make sure it's actually unlazy load. Go to the code and remove loading equals lazy. It's a very simple code, in particular for this website. Okay, so I got something that's really good. It's actually going to do two things. Number one is going to remove this. It's going to give me a better score. Number two, it's actually going to affect this thing right here, which is the image that it's basically trying to load it slightly later, and that's why it's taking longer to do. Now, LCP is greatly affecting the page speed score and the load time. And what that basically means is on a page, typically you have the largest thing that loads on the page, and usually it's the heaviest one. It takes the most amount of size. For example, maybe it's 0.2 megabytes to download this and appear it, and the page will look a little weird until it's downloaded. So Google gives a really important score on, can you get this image, the main image on the page, to load quicker. So how do you do this? You can do many things, which we'll talk about, but you can make the image smaller. You can preload it. You can tell the browser, hey, before you load any other thing like this thing, what about you load it here? What about you prioritize this, load it earlier? You can do a lot of different things, which we'll talk about some of them. Okay, so I can already improve two things. It's going to give me a really good score, and I'm going to give my developer all the things I don't know, the rest of the things. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. This is the idea for here, and we're going to go in more examples when we go over the best practices. The second thing I like to do is go to each of the specific pages. Remember, homepage, collection, product, etc. And I'm going to click in my browser on inspect. I'm going to go to network, and I'm going to reload the page, and it's going to show me how many elements took to load the whole page. For example, 119 things or 120 things took to load this page to look this way. I have my images, my logos, my scripts, my favorite icon, my accessibility script, all of these things. I have, let's see how many images. I have 14 images. I have 33 JavaScripts, which are 0.6 megabytes. I have CSS. I have all these kind of things, right? I have a lot of things that load. I want to try to reduce it. So what I want to look at, first of all, here is how the browser is actually downloading them. Right here, let me give you a little more space. Excuse me, right here. So here's how so the browser is basically saying, hey, give me the HTML and then give me all of these one by one by one. So when I look at here, I'm going to look at a few things. Number one, I'm going to look if any of the bars, any of these things took a long time to load. So for example, everything looks actually pretty reasonable. It looks okay. I'm going to look at the time it took to load. I'm going to sort it. So this app widget, this thing called UserWay, which is the accessibility script right here, actually took about 1 second to load. So this is a little slow. Maybe there's a way I can optimize it. Maybe there's another provider that is faster. I can look at that. And I'm going to look at all these things other here. So here's another one right here. This is took 0.6 seconds to load, and it affected the speed of my website. This is actually Microsoft Clarity. It's a way for me to see heat maps, how people click on my website and diagnose it. I know, for example, I haven't used that for a long time. What about we actually disable it? Because I don't really use it regularly. So you know what? It's affecting the website, the paid speed. What about I just remove it, and then it can actually make the website faster? So I already have some things I can see both in my recommendations here and in my network tab that I can actually improve. And I want to look at anything that really takes a ton of time to load. So you can see the size, the size to download, the size it was, and you can see the time. Okay, so you can see all these kind of things. Okay, maybe you have some script that you had from an old app, for example, or some script you don't use anymore. You can remove this, right? Or identify, or at least ask your developer what's going on. What is this Visual Web Studio website domain? I don't know what it is. It doesn't look, like I really need it. Okay, that's the idea. So you have the idea. If you have any questions, you're not sure, let us know. We have a lot of insight we can provide. So next one, now that I've identified things, I can actually give my developer things to do. So let me show you things you can do with the developer and especially without. Let me show you some things you can do. So the first thing you can do is optimize the theme and the features. This is a really, really important thing. In general, the less things you have, the faster it'll load, and each page has its own elements and own sections and own scripts and things like that. So what can you do is you can remove elements, hide elements, and you can basically replace things, make things smaller. So again, I'm going to look at all the reports I had based on all of my templates, homepage, collection, product. I'm going to go one by one. I'm going to go to my theme right here. And obviously, if you're doing things, never do things on the live theme. Always go ahead, duplicate it, make all the changes on your temporary theme. Make sure you test, make sure it's good, and then you publish it, and if it's okay. If you have any issues, you can always go back to the old one. Make sure you label them correctly so you know how to go to know which one is back and forward. I'm not going to make any changes, so I'm going to actually edit via the customize button, the live one, but you should always do it on the dev one, okay? So I'm going to click on customize. Now what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to look at all these settings that affects everything. So the first thing I'm going to do before I actually check the different templates, the home page and make optimizations, the collections page, make optimization, the product page, make optimization, the pages, the blog posts, etc. I'm actually going to figure out what things can I do that affect all pages. The good thing is if you have Shopify Theme 2.0, basically you have a website within the last 2 years, you're basically covered. You're almost certainly covered with it. You have all these things. What you can do is go to the theme settings. You have all these settings right here. A lot of you have enabled things that look cool or maybe look cool that actually affect the speed greatly, and you can actually remove them without really affecting your usability, your users. For example, maybe you have some images. So for example, my favorite icon, I can actually make the image smaller. I can re-upload it. I can make it smaller, right? Maybe social media, maybe you have too many social media icons. I can remove some of them. You don't need that. Okay. And let me give you some examples that are really, really good ones. So for example, by the way, every theme has different elements right here. So it really depends. You have certain settings. Let's go from the beginning. For example, typography. You have certain settings that actually affect the website speed. So for example, it even says here, different fonts have different sizes. Some fonts are bigger in size. They take longer to download, longer to display than others. You can actually go here. You can select system fonts. These are very basic one that all the computers have. The Mac and the Windows, they have. If you choose these, you don't have to download another font. And basically, these are fonts, right? You don't have to download another font, which takes a lot of time to download and process and delays the loading of the page. You can use basic ones that will greatly affect your speed. But if not, even different fonts, the ones that you have to download, they actually have different file sizes. This one might be larger than others. You can experiment with ones. There's a lot of fonts that look very similar, but some of them have 50 KB smaller and they can load faster, etc. You can actually really affect your speed. So this is one way to do it, for example, right? This is the fonts on the body, etc. Now you also have other things, for example, layout. Let's go right here. animations. So if I actually enabled animations, it's another feature which adds more code that moves things around. So if in this case for written, we actually want to optimize the score and minimize the movement of the website. So we actually decided we don't want zooms, we don't want page transmissions. We removed them, we tested it. It made the website faster, and it actually looks better. In my opinion, it looks better, but that's subjective, of course, right? Buttons, you have all these. So what you want to do is you want to actually click one by one and figure out what things can I remove. Do I need the quick view? You know what? On the collection page, when there's a icon, I can see the product details without going to the product page. If I don't really need that, that's going to make my website faster. You know what? Uncheck, uncheck. And so you're going to go one by one, cart drawer. So when someone adds to cart, will it add the right-hand side drawer that opens and shows you your cart? Or can people just click on my shopping cart and go to the shopping cart page? Do they actually need a drawer that really loads a lot? Now, for example, if your average cart is most people just buy one product, you don't need a drawer. Just add to cart and immediately take them to checkout. You don't need a drawer that slows down your website. You actually need to send them to the next step because most of them are not browsing more. So you can do a lot of things that are actually smarter to do, and also get faster website loads, right? Do I need messages, banners, all these kind of stuff? You can actually remove them. These are a lot of examples, okay? So you have all color swatches. Do I need things? Am I loading just a HTML code of a certain color, or am I loading an image? There's so many things you can do, okay? So these are things that are relevant to almost all pages. You can do that. So that's the first thing you can do. Second thing, you're going to go to each page one by one and click on the elements. And what you can do, any image, you can re-upload them. You can compress it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You can actually remove elements. A lot of sites, not written in particular, a lot of sites have so much scrolling. They have the first banners and the most popular products and the testimonials and more banners and all these collections and the Instagram images and some videos loading. You don't actually need that, because if you actually monitor how people use the homepage, you'll be surprised how few people scroll all the way to the bottom. So you can actually remove some elements. You remove elements, it'll be faster. Okay, let me show you another way to remove elements. Let's say, for example, so this is for homepage. Now let's go to collection, for example. Let's say I have a collection right here. So in this case, I just have one product. But let's say my collection page, let's go here to product grid. I can show how many products do I want to show on a page before they go to next page. A lot of you have 20, 30, 50 products per page. But what I recommend is to have between 12 to 16, depending on most websites can have 12 to 16, and then just next page. Or you can have an infinite scroll that when someone scrolls down, it just automatically loads the next 12 or 16. A lot of you load, for example, I have 12 right here, but a lot of you load, let's say 5 times 5, you have 25 per page or something like that. You can remove those things, right? Collection page. If I don't need these banners below all the products, I don't need to promote things. I can just go ahead right here, hide it, save it, and I'm good to go. I don't need that stuff. So recently viewed products, do I really need it, or do I want people to actually browse my products? Do I really need recently viewed products on the collection page? Yes or no? I can delete it or hide it, whatever you want. I like to delete it, but really depends. Okay, I click on save, I test it. If it's good, I set it live. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to each section right here, pages, products, all that stuff, and you're actually going to figure out what elements can I re-upload faster, right? So smaller images, for example, and then do I really need how it works? Do I really need this section right here? Do I need them? Can I remove some? Yes or no? That's up to you, okay? But you can greatly improve the page speed of all these pages, okay? Any questions? Again, let me know if it makes sense. Okay, so next one is we talked about the optimized themes and features. So in the theme, we talked about general things, and we talked about the specific templates and sections per page for homepage, collection page, product page, etc. Now, sometimes it's not in the theme. Sometimes you actually have to ask your developer or go to your app and actually remove some features. Sometimes there's features in the app, let's say, for example, this app that affect, let's say, the cart page, and I can actually remove this upsell or these pop-ups or all these kind of things. By the way, pop-ups and spin the wheels and all that kind of stuff really affect the website speed a lot. They really slow down the website. If you use all those pop-up things, make sure that you actually test it out and you test the different providers, because it could really, really affect your speed. We've actually replaced for some clients some apps, or built even them custom, because it's really, really, really heavy. Okay, great. So we did this. We talked about optimized themes and features. Next one, optimize apps. Same thing. Sometimes apps really slow down things. So how do I know if an app slows down things? I like to look typically at the inspect right here, what we talked about before. Click on network, refresh. I'll go to different pages, product page, etc. And what the one simple way to do is click on domain here, and anything that does not come from cdn.shopify.com or shopify.com or your domain are typically other apps. For example, there's an app here, Monorail Edge, Shop app, Google Apps. This is my user way. You'll like to look at these things. If you see that these things have very long bars, they take a long time to load, or they take very, very big sizes, you can actually say, hey, you know what? Actually, it's too slow. I want to replace it, or I want to go to the settings of the apps. For example, I want to go here and then look if they have any settings and try to disable things, just like we did on the theme. Uncheck some things. Maybe you don't need the pop-up. Maybe you can upload a smaller image. Or if you see things that are really irrelevant, you can actually talk to the app developer and tell them, hey, you know what? Usually there's a contact, click on support and tell them, hey, this thing is really loading slow. Can you check it? It doesn't make sense. And you'd be surprised how quickly some of these app developers can actually help you. Okay, next one. Image compression. This is the only thing that I actually included that is included in a lot of other blog posts out there, because it's still important. So image compression. When you upload images, your logo, your banners, your product images, your additional things, your anything it is, you actually want to upload them much smaller. Typically, I recommend for your banner images to be no larger than 300K, which is 0.3 megabytes, and product images typically like up to 200K, 0.2 megabytes. Now, if you have a Mac, I really suggest an app or a software called Image Optim. It's really, really good. It compresses really well. You have lossless and lossy, which are basically affect slightly the quality or no quality, and you can actually get really small sizes. Really good. I like to use it. You can download it, and if you don't have it, you can actually use something like Compressor.io. Any web tools, you can actually go online, and they have these things, lossy, lossless. They're really good services. There's actually a lot of them out there. These are two for examples. If you have any ones that you like, let me know what you like, and if there's any cooler things, let me know. So make sure that you go and compress them, your favorite icon, your banners, your social media icons, whatever it is, go ahead and then re-upload them, okay? Great. Next one, lazy load. This is something that some of you know, and we talked about it before. Anything that does not load, that loads when you have to scroll down, you should lazy load them. This thing should not be downloaded unless someone actually scrolls down. There's a lot of people that just go to the homepage and then they leave. They never even needed to download this. They never needed to slow down their internet connection, download more. Maybe they go here and then they click on some other page like examples. Okay, so make sure you only lazy load only things that are here. So very simple lazy load. There's many ways to do it, but the simplest way is via HTML. Just a simple tag that says loading equals lazy on the image tag, and you specify the image dimensions, the width and the height, and it'll lazy load automatically. The browser will know what to do, for example, on Chrome. Okay, one nice thing that a lot of you don't know is you can actually lazy load YouTube videos. You can lazy load embeds. Anytime you have an embed, which is, for example, a video, you can actually do the same thing. You can actually lazy loading equals lazy. You can do that. Anytime there's an embed code, you can actually just go ahead and do that on an iframe or something like that. Loading equals lazy. You can do it. And then the YouTube videos, only if you scroll down, they will load. YouTube videos are very heavy to load the player and obviously the video. That saves a lot of time. Next one, 404s. If you actually check, this is some of you guys have it. Some of you guys don't, some of you do. But if you click on network and you load the pages, what you can do, you can click on status. Sometimes maybe the website has been there for years and someone made a mistake, maybe a developer, or you uninstalled an app, and you'll notice that you just link to something that doesn't exist anymore. So if you see here status 404, you just need to clean it up. Give your developer, they'll clean it up. It's basically trying to load something that doesn't exist anymore. That happens. You'd be surprised how many times that happens. I'd say 1 out of 10 sites have some kind of 404 on their pages, right? Make sure you test homepage, collection, product, category, etc., etc. Next one. Fonts. So we talked about already the fonts. Try to select a font that looks the way you like, but is not heavy. You can download the fonts, figure out the font size, and go there. Another thing, this is more for developers, are if you have your own custom font, which a lot of you do, make sure you add the display equals swap tag, which means that it will not, until you finish downloading, or the browser finishes downloading the font, it will not delay the loading of the rest of the page. The text on the page will load normally, and as soon as the font is downloaded, it'll swap it out for the new font. It'll actually load a default font in the meantime and then swap it out. It's the best practice for fonts. Okay, the last ones are advanced tips. These are things that are a little more complicated, and some of them I really, really love. Okay, so we've noticed working with a lot of Shopify over the years, sometimes, especially in certain apps or certain custom coding, sometimes you have a feature that you really need. You can't remove it. For example, there's something on the product page, maybe there's a script or something, and it loads and you need it. You can't remove it. But we notice that sometimes during poor development, maybe the developer wasn't paying attention, or maybe they're amateur, or maybe the app developer did something, that this script is not just loading only on the page you need it. For example, the product page, it's actually loading on all the pages. So you can actually go ahead, identify that in the code, mostly with the developer, and then add some extra code, say, hey, I want you to only load this on, for example, product page. Okay, so that's one example, for example. Next one. Preload assets. We talked about it. If you have the largest image on the page, make sure that you try to preload it, especially if the PageSpeed Insights says it. The PageSpeed says, hey, this one is way too big. It took 4.2 seconds to load it. Make sure you preload it. You can preload it earlier, save a lot of time. The page will load faster visually, and you'll get better score, and it's just better. Okay? Next one. Order of scripts. This is also very, very technical. This is for developers only. The way you place your scripts, the place you place your Google Tag Manager, your Google Analytics, your tracking codes, your clarity, your scripts for accessibility, all these things, they matter. If you place them in the wrong order, it'll actually greatly affect the website speed. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you're not sure, don't try to just experiment. Make sure you contact someone that knows what they're doing. It can really affect the order of the scripts. And even sometimes you can place the same script, copying, pasting into Shopify code versus the same script, not putting a Shopify code, but putting a Google Tag Manager, can affect the load speed. So where you place it is very, very important. Okay. Next one. When you test the speed, almost all of you are testing, and everything we've covered in this video is testing the load page. I click on refresh the page, or I click on enter, I load it. But you actually should test what we call actions. Actions are things that when someone's on the page, for example, click on add to cart, how long does it take to actually load that action? How long does it take to do it? Sometimes we've noticed that apps, especially upsell apps, all these product customization apps, sometimes the action of adding to cart is very slow and users actually abandon. So make sure that you test the actions on your website. Searching is an action. Submitting a comment, adding to cart, registering, these are all actions. Make sure you test them very well, not just the load of the web page. Okay, next one. We're almost finished. Next one is, we talked about actions. Okay. Oh, so this one is the actions. Excuse me. This one is actually my favorite one. Load scripts upon actions only. So if you notice, sometimes, let me give you an example right here. This is a really great thing. When you load in Google PageSpeed Insights, to get a visual, you can click on View Tree Map, and you can actually see what are all the things that are loading and what are the heaviest, biggest things to load. For example, Google Tag Manager is 0.3 megabytes, and you can see here the user way, the accessibility is 9% of the loading time. It's 152K, and you can see all these things. So visually, you can see these things. Sometimes you notice that some things, for example, a YouTube embed, showing a YouTube video on a page is really heavy, might be like 1 or 2 megabytes. sometimes you notice that these things are so heavy that you actually want to not load them. So what can you do? Let me give you an example for that's really, really popular. We've actually done it in 2 specific cases, and they were super successful in making the website load quicker. So let's say, for example, let's imagine that at the bottom of my page right here, I have a YouTube video detailing our product, okay? Now, what you can do 2 things. One is you can do the lazy loading, but lazy loading might have some downsides of doing it. Maybe it will load for some browsers. It'll actually load when you load the page. What you can do, for example, is take the screenshot, the thumbnail of the YouTube video, and don't embed the script. You can actually have your developer just put the image that it looks exactly like the YouTube video. If someone puts their mouse over it or they click on play, then you'll load the script, and then it'll actually play the video automatically. You can actually run a script to load the YouTube embed and do that. So all you had to do, instead of loading 2 megabytes worth of iframe and embeds and a YouTube player and the video, you can actually just load a 50K image, and then when someone went there and scroll down, then it actually replaced it. We did the same thing with live chat. We noticed live chats typically are very, very heavy. One of our projects, we actually went and just uploaded an image. It looks like the live chat image, but when someone went here and clicked on it, then it loaded it and opened up the live chat, and it saved a crazy amount of load speed and time for the browser. That's basically my favorite advanced tip. It's very technical, but I think it makes sense if you guys. And the last thing for advanced tip is continuously test. Even though you've optimized, you got a really good score, your website is going to get slower over time. You're going to install more apps. You're going to forget things. You're going to do a lot of different things. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to recap and make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm going to go over everything really simply. Number 1 is, if you have any questions, we're here to help. That's always number 1 for us. Number 2, make sure you use your browser inspect tool. Make sure you use PageSpeed Insights. Look at their insights. They actually tell you what's wrong, and you can actually fix them. Okay. Next thing is, go to your themes, make a dev theme, make another theme, duplicate it, and start removing elements. There's a lot of things that you can checkbox that you don't really need, or you're not sure. You can even test them. Even if you're not sure, you can ask your developer to see how many people use this feature. And then 2 months later, you can actually decide if you want to remove it or not. You can do these kind of trackings. Remove elements, remove the number of, don't have 7 banners on your homepage that slide. Have 3 maximum. Don't have 1. So you can actually consider remove elements. It's better. Upload your banners in smaller sizes. Okay. Go to your apps, check the settings. You'll be surprised. You can upload smaller images. You can uncheck certain things. You can contact the developer. Tell them if you found something slow or not good, tell them. They'll fix it. They want your business. They want to actually improve it for all their customers. Compress your images. Lazy load when you can. Don't forget you can lazy load iframes. You can lazy load embeds. That's a good thing. 404s, check your inspect. See if there's any elements that take too long to load. We talked about it. Use your inspect. Too long to load, are too big. They have 404s. You can check these things. Really, really simple. Okay. Make sure you have smaller fonts. Make sure you use the display equal swap. And then make sure that you actually preload things to the major image on the page. Don't overuse the preload, or else it's actually going to backfire on you. Okay. Make sure that you check your actions. Make sure you load scripts only if someone really, really needs it. Okay, that's a very important part. And that's it. You have the tools. I'm going to link everything in our article, link everything in the YouTube video. You have reports. You have a very simple thing in your reports right here. In Shopify Web Performance, it's basically a summary of PageSpeed Insights. In PageSpeed Insights, check your diagnostics. Use a tree map to visualize how big things are. Remove things that you don't need. Ask us questions. Share your optimizations, and help others as well, right? Help others make your websites faster. They'll help you convert better. They'll help you do better business. Some say they'll help with SEO. Probably helps a little bit, but very, very little. Not like a title tag or links or things like that. Hope you enjoyed this video. If this helped you in any way, I really appreciate it. Please like, please subscribe, please share. If it helped you in any way, share with a colleague, a friend, a store owner. Let us know what you think. Say hi. We have social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Onescales.com. We have all of our articles, obviously the YouTube channel, and that's it. Much appreciated, guys. Thank you.